Hello and welcome to Business Exposed, the podcast which discusses the unfiltered truth and reality of running a business day to day. This week we have a great guest lined up for you who is Declan Hattie. Declan is the founder of Hat and Tie Social, podcast host himself of the Scottish Interior podcast, and you may also recognise his face from presenting at the Ideal Home Show as well. This week we cover a lot of subjects from Declan's background in the motor trade, what the key fundamentals of business that has really taught Declan, up to where he is just now. As always, we would appreciate if you could like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on, and if you could share with as many people as possible that you think would enjoy the podcast. So as always, sit back, relax and enjoy. So let's get right into it then. So you're obviously mainly known probably for your social media presence. So let's unpack a few boxes in and go back. So who is Declan behind that? Who's the younger Declan? Tell us a wee bit about your childhood growing up.
So younger Declan, Alan, I'm 30 this year.
Right.
The big 3-0.
The big 3-0.
When I was 15, well, let's actually go back before that. I grew up in a family that was all predominantly in and around the motor trade. Like my mum, she was the parts delivery driver for multiple dealers over the years. My dad was a panel beater. My dad's brother was a service manager. His wife is a service advisor. So I've always just been in the thicket.
Yep.
So it's all I really knew growing up. My mum managed to get me my work experience start in Peter Vardy Motherwell in 2010, and I was like, just get into school and tell everybody I'm going to Peter Vardy Motherwell. I went to the sales department, and it was amazing because then it opened up that side of right. This is like where adulthood's gone. Do you know what I mean? And then so I done that, absolutely loved it, and then it's all I naturally thought about for the next kind of couple of years after, and thinking, right, just get myself sorted and get knowing what I need to know and pass my driving test, and just assumed I was going to get right into it, and I did, and it was one of the points when you think back, you go, well, I actually wanted to sell a car before I was 18.
Yeah.
So
did you?
I did.
Yeah.
3 days before my
3 days,
18th
well
birthday,
done.
I was like, yes,
That's
get
class.
in.
That's class.
But it was exciting. I came through the rookie sales program, which was in partnership with Harriet Watt.
Yep.
Sorry, it was Napier.
It was Napier, wasn't it? Because remember, I done the same thing. So just for anybody that's listening and the interest of transparency, today's the first time I've ever met Declan face to face, but we do know who each other we are. We used to work at the same company. I used to work with your mum.
That's right.
We can talk about her in a bit because she's crazy. I love your mum. She's crazy. So we've never met each other, but we have went and we did go through the same training program.
Yep. And it was industry breaking. It was like
it was.
I just knew, and I think what I loved especially about the ethos behind that was like they wanted to train people the PV way, and not necessarily bring people that's been from other dealers groups. They wanted to teach them that way, and I thought that was brilliant because you just learned, and when I remember being in a classroom in Kirkcaldy in 2013, and for six weeks, like in a classroom in the dealership, like it was wild.
No, I remember. I thought it was really good because, I mean, let's be honest here, sales advisors across the board in any industry, predominantly the car industry, are generally not thought of highly.
No.
However, I thought that was a great program because it turned you into a professional sales advisor.
Yep.
Whereas, let's be honest, back then a lot of other companies, they weren't doing anything.
No, they weren't.
They weren't doing anything.
Sink or swim.
Exactly. And there's a laptop, there's a desk, there's a phone.
Aye.
Go and make it happen. Whereas that training program was really good because you came out as a knowledgeable, professional sales advisor.
Absolutely. It just, to me, at 17 years of age, it was just like, wow.
Wow. You see the money as well in the motor trade.
Aye.
At that age as well, when
absolutely.
everybody else is...
Especially when your pals are going on to do like apprenticeships and stuff like that at that age. And go out to the mega bar at the weekends. Like,
loving life.
Aye. Yeah, so get $2,000 in the bank. It's 17, do you know what I mean?
I know,
Like,
that's a lot of money, especially at that age. You get no outgoings.
No.
I would take $2,000 disposable income just now, to be honest with you.
Aye, but it's amazing looking back.
Yeah.
And actually, I was almost 10 years with Vardy.
Yeah.
And you think, actually, what's scary is that it was my first proper job.
Yeah.
And I genuinely, like, hands up, I never thought I would have worked anywhere else.
Yeah.
Never thought I would have done anything else.
I thought the same at the time. It was a great company. It was a great environment.
Loved everybody.
Obviously, times change and things move on, but at the time it was a cracking place. And just the amount you get taught. I mean, I'm pretty sure that there'll be a lot of the things that you do in your own business just now that you wouldn't be doing if it wasn't for the motor trade. Because let's be honest, it is a tough place to work.
Actually, we were doing a wee gig a couple of weeks ago, on a 9 square gridded Michelle.
I've not heard that for a while.
And I was like, so drop me in to see, because she's for like a corporate banking world, right?
Did she know what was going on here? Or no idea.
So I was like, I wonder if she kind of knows the 9 square grid here. And I was like,
I'll test the water.
And I was like, please tell me no. Please allow me. And
I love it.
I was like, because it's ingrained in your brain.
1,000,000%.
I can see that grid when I shut my eyes.
Yeah, it doesn't go away. That's with you forever. It's like learning how to ride a bike. It doesn't go away.
Totally, but aye, that's a funny one.
Aye. What do you think your biggest lessons in the motor trade were?
It was probably, and it's funny, like, because I'm quite a confident person, right? But at the very beginning, one of the biggest lessons I learned was it's all about being confident, and you need to be out there. Because I used to go up to customers in the forecourt and they would be like, still playing is that your work experience? And even though I was a trainee, and I did pull that trainee card for a long time. Do you know what I mean?
I was still using it when I was 10 years deep.
But I don't know, it was probably just me being probably shy in that.
Yeah.
In that, in that like kind of environment, aye. And being amongst like 20 sales guys, and you're just like a wee 17-year-old, the confidence did drop massively.
Especially when you're up, you're somebody who's got 20 odd years experience, 30 years experience, you do feel a wee bit out of the comfort zone.
Totally.
Imposter syndrome.
And it's getting yourself out of that comfort zone and realising your self-worth and going, you can do this.
Yep.
That's when you then change as a person and you become good, because the results prove themselves. Do you know what I mean?
Aye, no, definitely. I think as well, it's a really good place. I think the motor trade, for anybody who, how do I put it, wants to be a bit toughened up, because you're put under serious pressure.
Absolutely.
From your employer,
the
customers. You're going to learn to take a lot of rejection, and then if you're going to move on to something like what we're doing and you're running your own business, then you're going to face that all the time. But when you've got that ingrained into you how to deal with it, it's probably not as much a big deal now, had you not come from that type of environment.
Absolutely. It totally toughens you up. And like you said earlier, you learn valuable life lessons that you'll just carry the whole way through life, and it's just been flung in there.
Yeah, no, definitely. Where was the point of the career change then?
So I'd mentioned that I was with the group for somewhat almost 10 years. I had a wee gap year in between where I went to work for a family business, and didn't work. So
see, what's your take on it actually? What's your take when somebody says it's a family business, it's a family run business?
Carnage.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, you could look at it a couple of different ways. It just totally depends on the relationship. But I called it my gap year to find myself, and went travelling through Asia. No.
Right, okay.
But actually I wasn't. So I left in 2016, went back in 2017.
Okay.
So I'd obviously gained that 3 years, went back, right back into the Motherwell branch, and then I don't know, like it was the lockdown period for me that made me change my perspective of, right, what is next? Declan, you're I don't know, you're 20, what age was that? 27?
Right.
And I thought, nah, I need to do something different here. Because again, it was my first and only job, and like, there's the world's there to be seen, and you're not going to conquer it by
staying stagnant.
Yeah. In a nutshell. So the lockdown period, being furloughed, gave me a good bit of time to think and look at other options and explore passions. Do you know what I mean? Because we had this time that we naturally are never going to have again.
I know.
I was furloughed for the best part of 3-4 months.
Aye.
I was loving it.
I loving life.
Aye.
I think a lot of people were. I think a lot of people as well, certainly. I mean, unfortunately, if I say unfortunately, I wasn't furloughed, right? Wish I was, but unfortunately I wasn't. But it still gave you an opportunity to realise. I think a lot of people did realise what is actually important in life.
Totally.
And I think especially a lot of people in the motor trade and a lot of people with other high pressure kind of corporate jobs maybe took a step back and realised, you know, when they've got a chance to spend time with friends, spend time with family.
Yep.
Whilst
getting paid on average the last 12 months.
Exactly. To be fair, that was probably one of the benefits. But yeah, getting paid well to do that. Aye. But I think it gave a lot of people put things into perspective that, you know what, as much as it might sound contradictory, that, you know, everybody, let's be honest, we're of a breed who always want to drive and maximise your income and properly go for it. But by the same point, there's a hybrid between what is important, whereas again, I think wee bit of the motor trade that isn't so good as it gets pushed on, like just work, make as much money as possible. Yep. But by the same point, you've still got you've only got one life. You need to enjoy it for you. Whether you're a single person and you want to just spend time by yourself, doing whatever makes you happy, or with your partner or your family or whatever. I think a lot of people use the COVID period as a reflection on their life period. Where am I going here?
That's exactly what I done, and that's probably where I fell in love with what I do now, because I started to, we just bought a house in 2018 and started during lockdown. I was like, let's go on and be a home account influencer. Let me try and see what I can do here. And it grew traction quickly, and because I was like 3 months setting a tripod up, doing bits and bobs in the house, and even my garage, I was reorganising my garage and stuff like that. I mean, just documenting it, and it was, folk love to see what other folk are up to in their life.
Oh, definitely.
And
did you have a lot of followers on social media before this?
Not really. It probably was. The Daily Record picked up on Scottish top home accounts you should be following this lockdown pretty much. Right. So that gave me a good boost.
So they came across your account and featured.
So a journalist that put us in, and it was 1 of 10 people, and it was just it was so much traction off the back of that. So that was a good wee boost, and I mean, it's not a massive account, but during that time, I remember getting bloody number 10 balloons hitting 10,000 followers. Do you know what I mean? And having a 10,000 follower party. Do you know what I mean? Which I'm like, oh god, it's a bit ick now and cringe. But
no, listen, you've got to. So at the end of the day, you're doing it for that reason, to gain traction. You've got to celebrate. I think you just said something there that's really important. I think it's, to be fair, one of my probably biggest regrets is not documenting enough of the journey.
That's it.
I think I've started to document the journey after a couple of years in. Whereas I think, especially now in social media, just take people on the journey.
I was actually looking at my phone the other day, and I absolutely despise it. But see the new iPhone update on the photos folder.
Oh, I wouldn't know. I'm not an iPhone. I don't even know how to work an iPhone.
Boo. Anyway, they've done an update on the folder, and it basically it is a minefield. You probably need a degree to work it, because it is. I've got a love-hate relationship. But anyway, I've got 77,000 photos and videos.
Seriously?
And I'm like, that is mind blowing. Like,
you've definitely been documenting the journey then.
Aye, and that's what it comes down to. Like, just purely documenting. And so I started. We bought the house 2018, and I was like, great. And again, you've got the likes of like working for Peter Vardy to thank for that, because like a lot of people my age, I bought a 3-bed semi-detached at 20. Do you know what I mean? With a garage.
Yeah, I don't think about many other.
No, and I've got a lot of thanks to owe to that as well. Do you know what I mean? So we bought that, and then in the middle of lockdown, I thought, we bought this at a good price. We could sell this at a good price. We wanted to convert the garage,
right?
So we bought it on the government Help to Buy scheme,
right?
So that obviously helped us get on the ladder.
Yeah,
but there's caveats in place for wanting to make structural changes
through that scheme.
Through the scheme,
right? Okay.
Where you're seen that if you've got disposable income to make structural changes, like putting a garage conversion in, or we wanted to put an extension at the back as well, then you need to buy the government out.
Right, okay, they're saying you don't need their help then if you can do that, basically.
Aye. So I thought, do you know what? Let's just cut our losses, put this up for sale. And actually, Vicky Riddler, she...
Oh, was it?
Aye.
Did she sell it for you?
She sold it at my house.
That's class.
So, then bought the natural bigger house, so we didn't need to do the work, the extension. So we moved onto the exact same street. So
right, was that intentional, or
no,
just that's you put it up?
It's a Sunday afternoon, £100 deposit thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, what else do you do? So
that's all that happens on Sundays. People just spend money.
Aye.
Just like when people have got the time, what do I do? Spend money. It's like the sun's out, they go to the garden centre. Just everybody's just spending money.
It's probably a lazy thing, because I was like the exact same as the show home. And we were at the latter end of we're in the new development, right? So it's the same road through a roundabout.
Right.
On the exact same side. So it's so bizarre. But that's when I thought, right, this is a blank canvas, because I was in the house for a year and a half.
Right.
And I started the home account in 2019, but obviously lockdown took off mid-March 2020. So I'd obviously done a lot of the work in decorating.
Yeah.
So I thought, right, this is the time. Like, we've got an absolute blank canvas here, and it done wonders. So it done great for us, and so many opportunities, great brands that we've worked alongside.
So how did that come about, the brands? Because I've seen on your social media there's a lot of brands that you've worked with. So have they approached you off the back of that account?
So a lot of these brands are represented by PR agencies, and it's a lot to be said about like going for the smaller influencer, because they do have probably a tighter knit community, whereas people are interested because they are from local perspective. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like they follow bigger celebrities with a following and platform, brands necessarily think might get lost. Do you know what I mean? But whereas if they tap into a niche with somebody with 10 to 50k and around the Glasgow Central Belt, they're going to get a lot of traction for it. Like,
I'd imagine there'll be a lot more interaction as well between the sort of smaller influencer and the followers.
Aye, 100%. Done a lot with like Sterling Furniture. So that was a really, really good one there.
Right.
They're a great brand to work with. For the launch of their new showrooms and stuff.
Okay, so I'm going to say, so when you're working with these brands, what is it you do with the brand? So
there's a couple of different things. They'll either like send you product or give you a spend in store.
Right.
That you basically go in, and so rather than them just sending you like a coffee table and it doesn't fit your decor, so they'll give you a spend, you go in, and then you'll basically buy and ascertain what you want.
Right, okay.
It fits like your decor as such. And
that's class.
And it's such a great way of marketing, because every single post going forward, you're going to tag.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you're going to mention Sterling time after time after time. Actually, one of the moments, it was like it was a pinch me moment. It was a furniture company contacted us.
Right.
And they said, we've seen you've just bought a new house. We would love to work with a pool of kind of small influencers, micro influencers is the word, Alan.
Right, okay. Is that the correct terminology?
That's the terminology. And for people that's going to be working from home, we want to kit out an office space in the house, right? Now, my other half works for a global bank, so they were like, they're on the ball. They were like, you're transitioning into this work from home space, so they gave like a spend towards doing that. So we'd already put the wheels in motion because he was going to be working from home. And this is where I probably look at it and think this was the wrong way of marketing. So they basically said, and this was a moment I was like, what, how? So they were like, can you send us like your media card for your rates for a post, right? And I'm like, oh God, I'm going to actually get paid for a post here.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And so...
did you have a media card at this point, or did you just decide to...
Didn't have one.
I don't know what to charge you.
Aye. So I was like, right, let's go. Put it together, sent it across, and they come back and say, hey, we're happy to pay £600 for one post.
For one post?
Oh, check me. Kim Kardashian. But they wanted... So this is where I thought, right, they've probably boxed wrong with this. So inside of that, paying you £600 for the post, I thought that they should have probably give you £600 worth of product.
Yeah.
Because actually they used the dimensions of your room so that you could showcase what it would be like for the get-go, for the planning, the design process.
Right.
Of creating a bespoke office setup in the room.
Okay.
And you weren't obliged to go ahead with it or not.
Right.
So I thought, they could have boxed a bit more clever.
Yeah.
Because it's only going to then be a one-time post.
Yeah.
And because we'd already put wheels in motion into starting to do the office space, we'd already ordered furniture, do you know what I mean? So I would, if they'd have turned around and said, aye, we'll put an office, like a desk in and whatever.
Yeah.
So I felt that's a perfect way of not using influencers to your advantage, because they could have done that, and then for time and time again you could be tagging.
Yeah, of
sharing.
course, aye. And then as the algorithm's picking it up, it's just going to get pumped out even further.
So they wanted to basically design a concept in your room.
Right.
A room in your house. So listen, it's one of the ones that you probably live and learn with decisions like that. Do you know what I mean?
I think a lot of these things are good in terms of, and even I know we're kind of referring back to some points of the motor trade, but let's be honest, that's where the majority of our adult careers have been, right? Is especially with the people part, is you learn a lot of good, but you also learn how to not do things.
Totally. I
think that's actually more important. And then when you are now running your own business, especially when you're interacting with people, you learn, I think, more importantly, how to, as I said, not do things. And that's maybe an example there.
Yeah.
You know that going forward, when you're working with certain brands, that, you know which ones that you want to work with and potentially not.
Aye, in a nutshell, it is absolutely, it's bang on, because you look at it in a way that these lessons that you pick up, and especially even like the negotiation side as well, you know what I mean? Like
that's the best bit of the job.
Do you know, actually, and I'm going to drop his name in here, like, I don't know if you've ever worked with him. Did you ever work with Gary Scroggie? No,
I've never worked with him. I know who he is, you know, within the company. I've never worked with him.
That guy has taught me things in my life that still to this day I go, how would Gary do it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
I love that.
And Gary was just the closing king, do you know what I mean? And it's amazing how some people like that have a massive influential impact on you. Like, and I've been away for the motor trade for 3 and a bit years now, and still to this day, it just leads you back to that.
That's a really important point. That you're right, and I think it's something as well, something that I'm conscious of as well when I'm conducting myself, is you never know the influence that you're having on somebody. Now, it's probably more noticeable if somebody's having a negative effect on you. That it stands out to everybody. But that positive effect, you don't realise it at the time, but you're still talking about a guy that had an influence on you a number of years ago, and by the sounds of things you will continue. And it's, I think a lot of that's motor trade related as well. There's a lot of legends in the motor trade that have been doing that job for a long time, and they'll have taught us a lot of key fundamentals that are going forward. There's a lot of people that I still speak about. You know?
A lot of it's built on trust.
Oh yeah,
trust is the absolute key player, and if there's no trust, then they're not going to give you the leeway and the support and then back you. Do you know what I mean? Especially for somebody. In Gary's point of view, do you know what I mean? Like he's got 20 sales guys, do you know what I mean? But and it's still to this day, I hear the voice, do you know what I mean? And that's probably one of the greatest compliments you can give anybody.
Oh, definitely. When somebody, I mean, you'll have had it as well. Aye. You'll have been the Gary Scroggy at some point, somebody saying to you, and it does give you a wee. I'm not really saying a confidence boost, but it does. It does, but I'm on the right track here. You know, I'm doing the I'm doing the right thing. Let's be honest, we'll have all done some good and some bad in our life, right? We'll have all fulfilled both camps. But when you're trying to continue the path of good and the path of greatness, it's good to get a wee bit of reinforcement that goes, you know, I'm on the right path. Yeah, especially if I'm having a positive effect on somebody else's life. Yeah. And then that'll be a ripple effect onto whoever they're influencing them. Absolutely. You're always influencing somebody. And you don't even know you're doing it. You don't even know you're doing it. Yep. I mean, and see on the social media part, where obviously, which is your main bag now. Yep. I mean, you must see that a lot, because let's be honest, there's a lot of bullshit in social media. A lot of bullshit. And going back to what you're saying there with the trust thing, I think that's where, I think it's only my opinion. I mean, you're the expert, not me, so you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think the ones who do get a lot of traction on social media, longevity, are the ones that are showing the full picture. Because if you are that raw and that real, and showing the nitty gritty, rather than just the smoke and mirrors and the glamorous polished bits of the life, do you know what I mean? It's people will start to trust you more. Trust. That's the key word. That's the buzzword. That's the buzzword. Totally. Especially when you look at so much, and it's become such a pressurised world out there, because you just naturally feel you're not doing good enough, or somebody's doing something better than you. But are they doing something better than you? And why are you thinking that way? That's what I always. That is the poisonous side. It's just constantly comparing yourself to the next person or somebody within the same field. Yep. And sometimes you need a boot up the backside to just go, oh, aye. Why are you going to stop thinking like this? Why are you thinking like this? But it's hard. Yeah. It really is difficult. No, definitely. I mean, we had a. You're right. You're spot on. By the way, sometimes you do need a wee bit of a boot up the backside. We had I don't know if you know Billy Farrow, I guess, in the podcast, and I'm actually just now using his marketing agency within one of my businesses, but I wouldn't have had he no said something that pretty much gave me a boot up the arse. He pretty much told me, "You're fucking about here, right? You're fucking about." Yeah. And the other flip side of that as well is when. And this is something that I am notoriously bad for. I'm good at making everybody else's business look incredible, but there's something, and again, it maybe comes when you think back to it, like the confidence thing. Yeah, just joining the motor trade for a young age. So now I do, and I'll hold my hand up. I sometimes do get imposter syndrome because I think in my head I'm just a car salesman. Why am I doing this? I shouldn't be doing this, but actually I know I'm good at it. Yeah. But putting myself out there on my socials from a business perspective, I'm good at doing what I'm doing. But as soon as you put your face on there and saying, this is what I do, it then becomes like a moment where you're feeling you're leaving yourself open for scrutiny. Yeah, you're very much held to account. And to be fair, that's one of the things I do. As I said, I've only started using social media literally in the last probably 2 years, but really in the last kind of 6 to 8 months is I've really started using social media. But
Yep.
for me, that's one of the benefits that I do like about social media, is when you're putting something out there for the world to see, then you are holding yourself to account.
Yep.
You've got no option. You simply cannot fail. You've told the world what you're going to do.
Aye.
So I do like it from that point of view, because when I feel that I do need a bit of rocket up my backside, right, then I remember I've told the world what I'm going to do here,
Yep.
and there's no second option. But going back to that world of scrutiny, have you had any negative press on social media, or have you been quite fortunate?
I've been quite fortunate. Again, like, probably I'll take one hat off and put another hat on. That's like when you switch back into the home account, Declan, like, there's a site and it's just trivial. It is just people that need to get a life. So I don't know if you've heard it. It's called Tattle, and it's pretty much it's Tattle life. And there's been a few times that like our name's been dropped in to conversation, and through a successful account, you naturally end up going to like these like launch events and brand showcases, pop up stuff like that. And some people like there's definitely a jealousy thing, right?
Oh, 1,000,000%.
Because like I remember working with, we'd moved into the new house, and a company had contacted us and said, would you be interested in a new front door? And I went, aye, I would. And so I'm like, you naturally behind the scenes going through it, and they said, the long and short of it is, and this is what people don't see, like, they'd ordered a door, the handle was on the wrong side.
Right.
They'd looked at my profile and seen the handle was on the right side. They were going to give that door away to somebody, but from a local perspective and a company within Lanarkshire, they thought, well, let's actually use this and try and ascertain a bit of business.
Yeah,
and
they're doing it
based
to their
on it.
advantage.
It's going to end up sitting in stock forever, getting forgot about, when we could actually be proactive and put it out there. Somebody jumped on there and went, I can't believe the boys at Hattielarkinshome have moved into that house. Within 9 months, they've changed their front door. Who do they think they are? They would go to the opening of an envelope for a free glass of champagne. And I'm like, I've got the motor. I've got the motor. It's a Thursday night. That's probably the one bit of scrutiny. And that's the stuff that gets into there that when it shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because, you know, now I'm very much like, just get on with it.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe 3-4 years ago, I would have been like, it would have consumed me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think that's why a lot of people as well do have the fear of starting to post on social media, because let's be honest, we all know it's going to happen at some point in time. You know, and you just need to face it and accept it. But by the same point, you need to always remember that you go and look at some of these comments, right? I mean, I was getting heat in social media the other day for a post I put up, right? And you want to see some of these comments getting absolutely tore right into me, right? But see, when I clicked into them, right, there's a guy with a picture of a motorcycle helmet as his profile picture, a guy with an AI dog, right? A guy that's got 3 friends on Facebook, right?
Yep.
So why are you going to listen to these people? I tell you something, see if some like very successful multi-millionaire public-eyed individual comments a comment like that, then I'll listen to them.
Aye.
Right?
Absolutely.
I'm not listening to the wee guy in the council house. Nothing wrong with that, by the way, right? But the wee guy
with an AI helmet,
with an AI helmet, his profile picture, you know. But I think a lot of people, if you're not strong enough, could allow that to consume them.
Yeah.
You know, and that's maybe why I think some people don't. It is hard to overcome. Let's be honest. When you start posting in social media, you're in your wee friend group. You don't have your new pals yet, right? So you've got that pressure of your friends and your family, because they don't see you as that person yet. Yeah. And you're on that process of becoming that person. Yeah. And you've still got that wee friends group, but you've not detracted for them, but you've not found your new friends yet. And that wee middle part is a difficult transition period. I mean, you've just looked at it yourself. If an outsider looks at you just now and looks at your social media account, they're only seeing what they can see. Aye. But they're not seeing everything behind that. Yeah. the working your backside off to get to where you are just now. You didn't just wake up one day and have all these followers on social media.
I know that's it, and it was a lot of graft back then. Do you know what I mean? Because you were just like, especially being like, you wake up and you go, right, what am I doing today? What am I plastering? What absolute drivel am I posting the day? Do you know what I mean? Like, and I actually remember, and it's really funny, like when talking about being influential, like the company, I don't know if it was above board or no, but they basically said during that period of lockdown, they were like, we're going to start doing deliveries, cocktails. We'd like to give you 10 to try, right? And I'm like, aye, no bother.
Aye, why would you say no to that? 10 free cocktails.
I posted it on the residence page, right, with like, I don't know, a discount code or something on it.
Right. And
the lassie phoned me, she went, we've had like 25 people messaging like from our residence page, like, you know, these community groups on Facebook. And she's like, aye, and she's like, thank you so much. And I'm like, that's how it's such a good way to use it as a tool.
Yeah.
And there's so much scrutiny behind it.
Yeah.
When actually, if you use it, do it right, it works well for you as a business.
I was going to say that. As you say, I think the key point is doing it right, isn't it?
Aye.
That, let's be honest, social media is modern day marketing.
Totally.
And for something like that, it's very cost effective as well.
Yep.
Used correctly. So, we've covered the motor trade. You've then went on to the home account.
Yep.
Started doing well. Where do we go after that?
So,
where's the social media marketing part coming in?
Before I left the motor trade, I had I left PV in March the 1st.
Right.
2022. What a day to leave.
Was it a good day?
Sun was shining, left in March the 1st. And then I went to go, I tried something new. I went to go and work with a luxury finance credit broker down south. Didn't work out for me. I just didn't like the disconnect to no being within the team because we were trying to do a homework thing. The folk that ran it were great to deal with, but ultimately it didn't work for me. And it was an amicable thing. We just said, right, listen, let's just leave it at that. And then I followed my roots, went on to work with a company called Easy Leasing.
Right.
So I used to supply BMW and Mini to them. It was great. I had a really great relationship with the two directors. And then I had a chat with them and done it. And I think that's the point. After the first 6 months of working with them, and we had a great time selling cars, they could see my spark had gone.
You weren't as invested.
I wasn't as invested. And Martin, who runs the company, who's actually one of my clients now.
Right.
I do bounce a lot off him. Like, I'm on the phone to him all the time, and it's great having somebody like that as well. Who's invested in you? Do you know what I mean? And he could see for a point that you've lost your spark. Go and do something that makes you smile, makes you want to get up every day.
Yeah. And
that's what I've done. And some days I've to be thankful for him for that. Do you know what I mean? And the fact he's now supporting me being one of my clients as well. Do you know what I mean? And
that's
it probably makes sense for him. Yeah. With my motor trade background and having me knowing what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
So I set up Hat and Tie Social.
Right.
Social media content creation agency. So
how long is that going to go for?
We are 2
years.
2 this month.
Okay.
Aye. So I set out to help SMEs, small businesses across Central Belt, who naturally struggle or don't have the know-how to piece a reel together about they're good at doing within their business, or needing a wee help with sponsored ads. So it's really opened up so many avenues, and I've met so many people through it. And you think in 2 years, like the people I've came across, opportunities that I've had. I sometimes I'm a bit like, I actually do this for a living.
Yeah.
And I'm just, don't get me wrong, you don't like to see the notification on a Monday morning when it's my screen time, averaging 10 hours a week. 10 hours a day. And I'm like, oh God, that's ill. But no, it's great. I love it. I love what I do now. And like I said, some of the opportunities I've had off the back of it's been tremendous.
Yeah. I know I was going to say that because every time I go on your social media, I mean, how long did it take us to actually arrange this podcast? It's been months. Every time I've messaged you, you're like, oh, I'm not in the country, I'm away.
Quite party to
and then when I seen you last week and I messaged you on a private jet to Glasgow Airport, where are you going now?
Oh, that's my wee parking spot up the back of the airport. I love it. Because that airport is a nightmare, but it's great. I'm a flight radar geek.
Yeah.
Which is just a new thing. I literally oh, where's that plane going?
That makes some difference. You're going to the Partner Vauxhall course up the pitch in Motherwell.
That was actually one of the first clients I had, but I had for a period of time. I had a private jet charter.
Right.
And that's a different world. So I was in Glasgow Airport at Signature and it's like filming content. Going on this, but we were actually filming a podcast on it,
right?
And I was just doing the kind of content behind the scenes and stuff like that. So it was good. It was exciting.
So how did you get involved with a client like that? Because I mean, as you said, that's another level of wealth.
Yeah,
altogether.
It was actually it was a guy I went to school with,
right?
And they then we lost touch for a while. And then he seen I was doing this, reached out on LinkedIn,
right,
and just kick-started for there. And then I don't do the socials now for them, but that is a different level of wealth.
Yeah,
we were filming one day with a wrapped gold McLaren underneath the wing of this private.
I seen that actually. I remember seeing that post.
So that was interesting, and all good fun. But again, this is the smoke and mirrors that people could talk about. The
thing is, the great thing about that is you start to get, you start to get involved in that circle of people. I mean, think how many doors I'd imagine that would open to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I seen, we can talk about, I want to actually talk about it, but it's another subject we'll talk about in a minute about your wedding, right? But when I seen the content of your wedding, there was a lot of influential people there.
Yep.
Which I would imagine you've met through this circle.
Through circles, absolutely. And it is incredible just looking back. And sometimes I go like, I've said it, and I'll say it again. Sometimes I'm like, this is actually my job. But I love it. I really do love it. Don't get me wrong, it has its highs and its lows. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you could be sitting demented. And actually, I find myself most creative in the evenings.
Right.
See, sitting at a laptop or sitting trying to do something. See, through the lunchtime day or 2 into 3, I'm like, no. I'm a 7 o'clock onwards. That's when I switch on. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm a cancer. It must be a cancer trait. Because that's when I flourish.
I think, though, that is also another point to note, because there's so much pressure out there that you see all these videos, right, of people saying, like, I get up at 4:30, have my first bowl of porridge, I have my first coffee, then I have my pre-workout, I'm doing my morning run, then I'm in the gym. I'm
all before 6.
Exactly. It's always before 6 o'clock in the morning.
Face in a bowl of ice.
Exactly. You're right. I missed the ice bath out in the back garden. So there's so much of that portraying. But I think it doesn't really matter what time is see if your peak performance is at that point in time, that's your peak performance within those 24 hours a day. Does it really matter of what hours that you're most productive? It doesn't really.
As long as you're getting the job done.
Aye.
Within the right time frame, or as long as you're getting it done, that's what matters.
Aye, I mean, there's so much as well. You see a lot of these videos that these people saying, "I don't have time to watch Netflix" and all that. That's for people that are not productive, right? See if I've got everything done in my day, and I've been productive and made money to put, food on the table for my children. See if I want to sit and watch Netflix. I can sit and watch Netflix. I don't need to not watch it because the pressure of social media tells me I'll not be successful if I watch Netflix.
That's it. And it all comes down to unnecessary pressures that one we put on ourselves.
Oh, aye, yeah.
Because you see somebody in a nice bath and up at 4:30 in the morning and done
the cold
a
water
class
dipping
in the gym and cold water dip them up Loch Lomond and back home for 6:30.
I don't think there's anybody in social media that's not done any of that according to social media.
Exactly. But yeah, it has its highs and lows. And sometimes you do get yourself into maybe not a rut, but you get yourself into a headspace that you're like, I'm struggling. Like, how do you make this look sexy? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you make it different for what everybody else is doing? And that's one of the key points, is just being at one step ahead of the game.
Yeah. How did see the transition between you leaving? Because let's be honest, the motor trade is generally relatively well paid.
Yeah.
So you've came for a job, having a good income. You've now bought this big house.
Yeah.
Big houses come with big bills. So how did you find that financial transition? Because you went for this, go and become self-employed. And I think I like to speak to this quite a bit, is that there is people have this perception that the second you've registered a social media account, registered a business in company's house or whatever, right, you're a millionaire.
Aye.
You've not made a penny yet. You've not made a penny in day one.
No.
So you might not even have a client yet.
I know.
So how did you deal with the financial transition? Like, was there any pressure points around
especially
there
when you've only been used to the 9-to-5 life and you're used to that stable income coming in. And that's probably a hook, but you were saying on the podcast with CM, when you start to see the motor trade go back the way when it comes to salary, it then, I remember thinking things are changing and it's now time to get out.
Yeah.
And a lot of people within my circle at that point have done the same.
Yeah.
There is still a few folk there, but the key players have went, right, what is next for me? The transition was difficult because naturally, as I said, you're used to that salary coming in, but when you're trying to then make something of yourself and do it for yourself and do it for your household, because you, like you say, you've got bills to pay. My other half didn't find it as, I'm quite laid back.
Right.
Whereas Jonathan works for a bank and he's quite doof.
Methodical.
Aye. Like regimented lists, finance lists.
Right.
And I'm just like, see, if it was up to me, I would just be like,
he's the one keeping the household together, keeping you on the straight and narrow.
Aye. And it is funny because I'm like, listen, Connie, no stress. It'll work. It'll work.
You're a bit more risk adverse by the sound of things.
I didn't think I was, but
yeah.
And I think been probably flung in at the deep end, leaving the motor trade, so I left the leasing company and started this. I was literally like from one month to the next, it was like, right, I started with 3 clients, but
right, okay,
and that's probably what gave me the push.
Yeah.
I started with 3 clients. It's actually funny when I think back. Martin and I laugh about it. Just before I was finishing up there, I'd registered my social media Instagram account, and obviously it's linked to your mobile number.
Right.
And he came in and he was like, "What's Hat and Tie Social?" And I was like,
"I mean, something you want to tell me here?
You get something you want to tell me?" And I was like, "Aye." So that was probably like what sealed it. And listen, absolutely. Do I have regrets? Some things, aye. But I'm loving the way it's going, and I'm loving that every day is different.
Yeah.
you've got a bank of clients that will be on retainer, and they'll stay with you because they like working with you and they like what you do for them and providing results. But you will genuinely get the ones that will come on, disappear after the 3 months.
Right, okay.
And that is all right. That's fine because it's allowing them to test the water. And some people, some businesses view the importance of social media, they rank it and its importance differently within their business because they'll be like, aye, but we don't really need Facebook or we don't really need LinkedIn because we get everything through word of mouth. I know that's fine and well, but you've got platforms there to be utilised and use it as your digital shop window.
Yeah,
put it there.
I always think that when you do hear people saying that, and there is a lot of people who have a lot of great businesses through word of mouth, but and that's fine. And listen, it's fine to operate within what you want to operate. Some people don't want to, or also don't have the ability to operate at scale.
Yeah.
But if they can run a successful business purely off of word of mouth, think what they could be then doing if they were using all these other tools in the toolbox.
Totally.
Some difference.
Massive difference. So it was a very bizarre transition because you then have to put multiple hats on and you have to actually do the job, manage the client, then become an accountant.
Yeah.
And then you're invoicing, then you're chasing invoices.
Yeah.
So, and you'll know that yourself. It isn't plain sailing.
Aye. No, it's
if anybody says it's plain sailing, they're lying.
No, I totally agree with you. Listen, I do not have any regrets. Listen, I'm humble enough to know that things change. You never know what's around the corner. Could I personally ever go and work for somebody else directly? Probably not.
No.
You know yourself all the benefits that come to working for yourself.
Yeah.
For me, is the very simplistic things. Is that, can I go for a haircut at 2 o'clock today and not ask anybody? Do I need to tell my dentist that I'm going to ring them back?
Aye.
Because I need to confirm that I get a couple of hours off? So for me, the benefits are actually the very simplistic things. When I speak to most business owners, they say the same thing. I've never asked that question to anybody, and I've once said it's about the money.
No.
They've all said it's about the
flexibility.
The flexibility. However, that does come at, as you said, a cost of drama, generally financial pain, because you say you don't have that consistent income.
Managing realistic expectations.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest one. However, that again, back to the motor trade, that probably instills a lot of that in you.
Yep.
How to deal with tough situations and negotiate. But you're right, the second you become, you set up that business, you become every department that we're used to working in an organisation that has all those departments, and you can utilise knowledge and skill sets and utilise everybody, your working surroundings. But you've now just became every one of those departments until you get to a stage where you can recruit a department or outsource to a marketing agency, outsource to somebody like yourself, a social media agent. So when you're trying to do it all yourself, then you're right. Anybody says it's easy, just go and start a business. It is absolutely not.
Yep.
You need to consider everything. And it's for some people, but it's also okay. It's not for everybody.
Yep.
It's not for everybody. And that's also completely fine. Whereas again, without referring too much back to it, that's where I think there's a lot of pressure on the social media, because people are seeing people setting up very basic entry-level businesses that are run very, very well and profitable. But that's also not for everybody.
No,
and that's completely fine. If you just want to go to an average to low paid job and it fulfills your lifestyle and you're financially okay in that situation and you're emotionally and mentally okay, that is also okay.
One of the most interesting bits of sitting in my accountant doing my first tax return. I was like, oh God.
That's always a scary one. You don't know if you've got it right or not.
Aye, and I've obviously been accruing and keeping everything aside for him, and sat down in my meeting, and I'm like, it pops the last P60, and I'm like, I can just go back in that wee folder.
Oh, I know, just let me, I don't want to see that. I'll just leave that there where it is.
Aye. Because that you need to, before you can merit and reap the benefits, you need to put the work in and build it.
Aye, definitely. You do need to, and that was, you kind of mentioned,
non-negotiable. Absolutely.
Aye. No, you're spot on. I mean, you mentioned obviously guys for Shane there, and we had Mark on. That was one of the key points he said, is that their key to growth is just reinvestment.
Yep.
They've not, for a period of time, they didn't reap the benefits of the financial success they were given. They just put everything back in. Now reaping the benefits.
Yep.
And you're right, that is a non-negotiable. You need to do that to grow, or else you'll have one day where it dries up potentially, and you've got a problem in your hands.
Totally.
So let's talk about your podcast now.
Let's go.
Where did that come about? What was the thinking behind it?
So
where did Michelle come into it?
Last year we got approached by the Ideal Home Show.
Right.
They said, guys, we'd love to invite you and have a segment on stage. We'd love you to do 2 slots. And I was like, what? We're just looking at each other. So
was this you, or you and Michelle, or was this you and Jonathan? Because where does Jonathan come into this? Because he is, so the two of you on social media.
It's funny that it is funny. So it was naturally through the home account that came through, and then this is, we want to invite you and Jonathan on, and Jonathan he's like, nah. No, he does the King's Theatre every year. He actually kicks off the 90s.
Aye, I was going to just say that. I seen that on your social media this morning.
And it was on the same week, and I was like, oh, typical. So I spoke to Michelle, who was obviously my client at the time as well, and it was a shared mutual passion, interest. I thought, do you think we could come up with something here and piece a segment on stage together? She's like, absolutely. This is such a great opportunity. You can't turn it down.
Yeah, that's what the Ideal Home Show is like the pinnacle of...
Absolutely. It's like UK's biggest indoor, outdoor exhibition. So done that and then come off. So we done it and we came off last year like I was calling us Rylan and Ruth. Because Holly and Phil were old news. Come off the stage, and we were in like such a high, absolutely buzzing, and I thought, right, we need to keep this momentum going.
Yeah.
Got asked back again this year. In between, I got married last year, so we thought about setting the podcast
I think the world knows you get married last year. It was everywhere.
What makes you say that? So I thought last year was just crazy hectic, and sadly we lost my mother-in-law 3 weeks before the wedding, so timing wasn't right. So we thought, let's come into this year with a bang. Let's kickstart it.
Let's go for it.
We lined up our guests. We sat and we had numerous kind of brainstorming sessions, and I thought, I like to collect handles, Instagram handles, right? And domain names, right? So I like to think of like quirky names or like be ahead of the game. I've actually got a funny story, but I'll tell you that in a minute.
Okay.
About 5 years ago, I set up Scottish Interior, right? Just the handle. So I've always had it, right?
Right.
Like just the clean name as it reads. And I thought, how have I managed to get that? Right, so I set it up.
More to the point, how was it not already taken?
How was it not taken?
Was it already taken? Scottish Interior?
Aye. Like every other connotation round it, Scottish Interiors was there, but blank account. And I was like, Scottish Interior? Like that's it.
Yeah.
And then so I started using it actually as like a digital magazine,
right,
sharing other home account stuff and all that, and built up and then I lost interest in it, went back to work, so that was shelved. So I thought, right, Michelle, this is a perfect opportunity. I thought Scottish Interior podcast is or has been born.
Yeah.
So that's how it began. So we came into this year and we filmed our first 2 episodes, and then we were originally planning doing it bi-monthly, And then I thought, nah, we need to go weekly.
Yeah.
We need to go weekly, especially at the outset, because the time you get through 10 episodes, you're 6 months. Do you know what I mean? You're just short of 6 months. So I thought, no, let's go for it. And it's amazing how quick the traction's built up. And do you know what I mean? And like, I was looking at the Instagram last week, and it was like over 150k accounts reached. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, even that, just for like 400 followers on the account. And so it's been great. And we took it on stage this year at the Ideal Home Show.
Yes, I've seen that. So how did you manage to take this podcast onto the stage?
So we were double mic'd up. We were mic'd up to Ideal, and we had my friend who runs a creative agency as well. Amy had mic'd us up as well. So we were sitting double mic'd. So we were pulling the audio for both angles. And then she'd her camera up. Ideal had their camera up. And actually, they didn't record it last year. But this year they did record it. So they've sent all the footage. So actually, I didn't need to.
You didn't need it. You've got double
so I've got double the content, which is great because I've got different angles and such. But it was interesting, and it was mobbed this year.
Right.
And I was like, and it was opening day, so that's obviously helped us.
Yeah.
So we got opening day, whereas last year we were the bank holiday Monday.
Right, okay.
So the last day of it.
Right, you've got pole position now.
Prime position, sitting with wee Laura Hamilton for
do you?
a place in the sun.
That's excellent. You know, it's funny you say that, because I was thinking to myself later on before coming on here, right, I thought, right, I wonder where he's going to go with this next, right? And that's what I thought, because what's the other girl called in A Place in the Sun? And I seen she was at your wedding. What's her name, sorry?
Jean Johansson.
Yeah, I seen she was at your wedding.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought to myself, I wonder where he's going to go with this. I thought I could picture him on A Place in the Sun.
Jean, you better watch it. I'm coming for you. Jean's a good friend. Actually, funny story. Like did you know my mum was on Come Dine With Me?
Yeah, I know that. I know. I've never seen it actually, but I know she was on Come Dine With Me.
It was about 100 years ago, but anyway.
It doesn't surprise me, because that's like the type of thing I could just imagine your mum doing.
Oh, she's a pocket rocket, to say the least.
She's hilarious.
So Jean was mutual friends with Craig, who was on there. Craig sadly passed away, so we've just tried to keep his life alive, but keep his friend circle tight.
Right, okay.
So, and that friendship's just flourished with us and Jean. So it's been great. She's been a great support to us too.
Yeah, that's a good wee testament as well.
Yep.
Keeping the wee group together.
Aye, absolutely. It was the hair and beauty editor for the Sunday Mail, so he had a column in there. And it's nice. It was nice just to keep his name alive. Do you know what I mean? And and we do that through just multiple friends. We always kind of meet up, and it's lovely.
No, that's really good. That's good. So, lastly, one thing I want to ask is, we briefly kind of touched upon the wedding there, right? How important or how much of a support has Jonathan been to you? Because if he's still in his corporate role, and he didn't, but he was, is with you, the face of the home account. He's still in the background in his corporate role. You're out working for yourself and your own business. How
step away for the big BMW badge behind me, and then being able to say, oh, I've not got a wage coming in at the end of this month.
That's maybe why it's important to have a partner when you do it.
Aye, he's been a huge network of support. But sometimes, and it's funny, like sometimes I go, I mean, like worst case scenario, you can always just go, and I was like, I'll no work for anybody else. I won't, because I'm too used to the way that we work now, and it can be a bit of a nightmare, like we said, going through the motions of chasing invoices and whatever. But it's all the fun of it. But no, he's been a terrific support, and we got married on our 10-year anniversary.
Was it?
Aye.
It was a big wedding.
Aye, it was. Do you know?
How long did that take you to plan?
We went through the motions with that as well, because we've viewed numerous venues. Like, we actually viewed a yacht club in Spain,
right,
in Mallorca, and it was just stunning. And then we were ready to put a deposit down on it, and it went into liquidation. I was like, beautiful. I was like, can you imagine we lost that?
Yeah.
So then we then went to Cyprus, viewed a venue in Cyprus.
Right.
Fell out of love with it and come home. And I was like, right, we'll just have a small wedding in New York.
Right.
Then I was like, we're going all around the world here to end up in the Blythewood Square Hotel in Glasgow. But it was great, like, because it probably recreated that. When we were really serious about New York, but when we priced it up and the logistics involved, even trying to get 20 people through the city and go for location A to location B to maybe location C, and then I was like, nah, this is just carnage. So we probably recreated that in Glasgow, and we felt that the Blythewood was a perfect fit for the city wedding. But it's been what are we on now? 7 months.
7 months.
Aye. Have we?
No regrets, yeah.
No regrets.
No regrets.
Aye. But no, it was good. It was meant to start with 25 people.
Right, okay. How many did it end up?
So we were really good through the day. So we had 45 through the day.
Right.
And then the Blythewood said to us, they went, we can only have 80 max in total for the night. So it's just a small see actually the function area and where they have it downstairs, because you've got the full exclusive use of the underneath of the underside of the hotel.
Right, okay.
This says it's 80 max for numbers, and I was like, well, I've got 106 coming, so
what are you going to do about it?
And everybody was like, this is the most wildest wedding I've ever been at.
And did they allow that?
They were fine.
Okay. You were giving them no other option.
Fire door was open. They're letting but it was incredible. Loved it. I would literally, if see folks saying, oh, I would never do it again, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And I'd spend every single penny again.
Every penny doing it.
Aye.
I'll soon see that in your social media when you're recreating it on the anniversary.
Aye. You'll see it in Barbados. So.
Well, listen, Declan, that's been great. Let's bring it home on that. I've certainly learned a lot, certainly from me and my social media journey, which is just about to start and starting to get a lot of negative comments and negative press and dealing with that. So listen, I've learned a lot from you. I appreciate your time, and let's have you on again some point in the future.
Absolutely. I have loved today, so thanks very much for having me, Alan.